GTX Rotex fuel injected. Look at the bird crap. That is a 01 GTX RFI 787. Does not run. I have very little details on it. Said there was some water in the cylinder and something about the oil tank. So I haven't done anything, haven't even put the tether on, and I think we'll start right from the beginning. Throw the tether on, see what happens. I'll pull the seat off and we'll go from there. Seat coming off. Take the bucket out too. Should we grab a flashlight? Maybe the overhead light might be enough. Let's see what we got. I'm going to take that centerpiece off for sure. Yeah, 787. Got a rectifier mod there. And what else are we seeing? We're seeing a little bit of oil in the bilge, a lot of oil in the bilge. Okay, let's get the centerpiece off. Oh, it looks like the ignition coil is mounted to that. Really? Okay, maybe we should try starting it first. Tether in hand. And very first thing, dead battery. Throw the charger on it. Let's see how this comes apart. A little different. So the coils are attached to that cover. How great. We got to take this coil pack off. Oh, not on the bottom. Oh, come on. That was another crappy design. Good, that's out. Just gonna yank out the spark plugs and roll it over just to be sure there isn't water in there. Probably should bring you over to this side, which I will. They have an unusual look about them, like there's wet. Clean those babies up. And we'll just do another crank over. Some light in there. Ooh, she's sparking. May as well check compression while we're at it. And PTO. Oh yeah. That's good. Sparkage. Not sparkage. Compression. All good there. Just got a little rig here with a jumper so I don't have to hold the spark plug. Check for spark. Oh. Good spark. And number 2. Oh. We got spark. That's good. Now we'll try and fire it up. Now will it crank over with 2 plugs in? No. All right, charge the battery. Okay, we've had her on charge for a bit. And some water coming out of the exhaust. Well, that's weird that it runs. And then it doesn't. It runs till it doesn't. I wonder if he dumped some fuel. Okay, let me hook up the Seadoo Pro. Let's see if we can get anything on that. Seadoo Pro is a little different on the RFIs. I don't think there's any access port. You have to plug right into the desk post and fire it up. And faults. Reading faults, lots of faults. Mag fuel injector. PTO fuel injector. And I did see a crank position sensor in the bucket over there, so we should just check to make sure that that thing is hooked up properly. Yeah, so there must be an issue with the fuel injectors. Let's clear the faults. Mag fuel injector shorted to ground. Okay, let's, what do we do? Unplug them and plug them into, I have another fuel rail that I had out of another machine. Plug them in here and see if it's actually gonna clear the fault. Or should I, maybe I'll hook up my tester. Let's hook up the tester. The mag fuel injector, oh, that's right there. Let me get my diagnostic tool here. That's this guy here. Hook this onto the fuel injector that you can't see. I think we're gonna have to get a mirror going. Where is it? There's one. There's the other. Oh, what's the purpose of the motor being crooked like this? No, clip is on the top. There we go. Hook some power up. We got power. Now let's go. That one works. So why does it say it's shorted? the other one. I was kind of hoping that wasn't going to work and then we'd be done, but nope. Where are you? Perhaps a mirror would help. There we go. Test this one. And that one's working. So they're both working, but they might not be pulsing, letting the fuel through. Let's check this again on the Can-Do Pro. I want to see if it's going to pulse fuel, so I hooked up a fuel rail that I had, and we're going to just test it this way to see if it's actually sending fuel out. Then if it is, then I got to pull the fuel rail off the motor, which sucks, and check it there. But I figured I'd check mine first. Just pulse it a couple times. It's completely dying off. Why would that be? Seems like it's getting better now. So that seems to be working. Bad fuel injectors? Maybe we'll pull the fuel injectors out and hook them up like this. I'd have to hook them up in here. How unfun would that be? But I don't think it's getting fuel. Now we could spray some carb cleaner in there to see if it will fire up again, but I'm pretty sure it will. Let me think about this for a minute. A little bit of carb cleaner in there, see if that does anything. I just want to see if this thing is actually a runner or what the deal is. Not that way. All right, I dumped a little bit of fuel into the cylinders, took this cover off too, hoping to get it out of the way, and of course, it doesn't come out. Yeah. Uh-huh. So explain that. Why when I rev on it, it's got a fuel delivery issue. We just got to figure out what's going on. Yeah, and now it's burned off all the fuel. Smoky. All right, next project is disassembling the fuel injection, see what's going on. Okay, now we're outside. Got it hooked up to the hose, so let's fire this thing up. Hose is on. It's idling a little rough. oil coming out still. A lot of smoke. Here comes the smoke. I don't know if that's, yeah, it's not steam, right? All right, next thing I want to check is that rectifier is charging. So let me go get my meter and we'll check that out. Okay, we'll fire it up and I'll just put the leads, one on ground, one on the battery, see what we get. That doesn't help me at all because I can't see it. So we'll put one lead on the battery, one to positive, negative. What do we got? 12.7, fire it up. Come on. Yeah. Still running pretty rough. I'm gonna put it in the water and give her a good run up. And down at the lake, why did I see smoke coming out of the inside there? Won't start in the water. Gotta put the camera down. Pretty smoky. just another one of these fucked up machines. All right, another day back up at the garage again, and yeah, it's this typical thing where it won't want to start in the water very good, but will start on land no problem. I was looking down here at the throttle, and the throttle cable was outside this raceway or whatever you would call it that guides the cable, and the idle adjustment nut, there's a nut on the bottom, was missing. So now I got to get a nut on the bottom of that and lock in the idle, because if it's idling too low, it'll stall every time. So I'm going to show you what we're doing. I have another throttle body right here. That's the nut that bolt we were looking at, and see, that's how it adjusts. But that nut on the bottom is gone, so this slowly backs out, and then it starts running crappy again. So let me put that nut back on the other machine, see if that helps. You gotta try and get some Loctite in there too. How do you do that? Maybe. I'll put a little in the nut too. Do a quick test fire. Make sure we got the good idle. So you got to turn it up a bit. Water's turned on. Oh, missed the bucket. Water off. I think we got to go down to the lake now and do our fine tuning. Might be getting closer. All right, here we are back at the water. Time for is this our second water test? Yeah. All right, let's see if it runs in water. Nope. Isn't that funny how they don't like running in water, but they'll run on the hose all day long. And if I lift that up just a bit, she'll fire right up. And to get to that, you got to pull the exhaust and the throttle body just to check it. Maybe a little higher out of the water. No, more. Yeah, as soon as your backer into the water, dives. Just pulled the map sensor. Just to see if there was any weird thing going on there. That's a bummer. Just gonna do a little idle adjustment here. Yesterday we were trying to adjust it out of the water, which doesn't help. Just gotta loosen off the jam nut first. Yeah, and can't get a wrench in. There it goes. So I'll try cranking her up a bit. Pretty erratic. Running on both. I know that for a fact now. And after warming it up, and I backed her out just a little bit more, now the exhaust is in the water. Let's see what happens. Hard start. Not a hard start. And we're out here. Well, here's the bunk. You know, how do you deal with all this? Have to get it on the jack when we get out. Ugh. Check this out, back in the garage. Ah, crappy. Wonder. No change. Okay, gonna try one more thing. You know, when that idle adjustment screw was messed up, I'm just wondering if I should reset the throttle position sensor and see if that's causing us any grief or not. So I've backed that idle screw right out, which is that one right there, so that the slide is not touching the screw, so it's completely closed. And this has to load this last 60 seconds. And settings. Reset. And then vehicle. Maybe this one you don't have to write to. All right, now let's see, monitor. Okay, now we're going to try firing it up and see what happens. Oh yeah, before I fire it up, you got to run this down till it just touches the slide, and then, I don't know, a couple turns. And then we'll check our idle. And then we'll go from there. This may be screaming high idle, I don't know. No, it's way low. Way low. Right around there. Let it sit for a minute, and then we'll try firing it up again and see if it is hard to start here. And sat for a few minutes. Another hose test, and then we have to do another water test. He's on the hose. Same hard start. Just having a look in here, and I pulled off the throttle position wire. And it fires right up every time. I'm gonna just test it in the water, and then we'll figure out what's going on. These things are something else. My other machine, I had to disconnect the map sensor to make it run. I don't know. And back at the lake. Throttle position sensor is disconnected. Key is on. Key is not on. Key is on. No start. Low RPM. First time idling. And smooth. Why? Foggy though. Oh, and maintenance. GPS back on. Look at that. Dies instantly. I think we got a throttle position sensor problem. Pulled out a throttle body that I had, and I took the throttle position sensor off and I put it on the machine. And you can't get a camera in there to even hold it, but basically just those two screws come out. Sits like that. Pop that out, pop the new one on, tighten her down. Now we'll see if we get a different result at the lake. Actually, first I'd like to do a little water test here. I don't know if we got the RPMs high or what. No, not. A little bit high. Supposed to be around 3 grand out of the water. That's pretty close to 3 grand out of the water. Let's see if we get a different result this time. Something going on with that. And back at the lake again. And same shit. What the hay? Won't start. Pull wire off the throttle position sensor. See if we get a start. What the hell? Put it back on, it died. Why? Try to start with it connected. See? Won't do it. Something goes weird for a minute, and then once you get it going, then it'll start every time. Okay, we got to back the throttle off. Idle adjustment. That's still moving. I think there's space now in there, right? I don't know, is the nut hitting? Maybe I should take that nut off for now. And we'll put it on later. Now, let's see if we get any more movement. No. All right. Now, we go to the Can-Do Pro. If I can get you out of here. And that doesn't have to be written. I guess that just, all these mean nothing because we were disconnecting the throttle position sensor. TPS opening 0. It's moving. Okay, now we got to go back to the lake again. Yeah, it's way too low. Try it again. Pull the throttle position sensor. Oh yeah. Okay, it's off. I think what we're going to do is check a spark plug. See what's going on. Oh. Guessing it's wet. Soaked. And it's soaked with gas. What does that mean? Okay, cleaned her up, dried her up. I think that the throttle position sensor is telling it to dump more fuel in here than we need. And it's not the throttle position sensor itself that is a problem, because I changed it and they both do the same thing. So what does that mean? How do you change it? Just move that down here, throwing the battery charger on. You can't run it without the throttle position sensor. Let's just see what this one's like. Look at it, soaking wet. All right, second plug cleaned and back in. Throttle position sensor is hooked up. Let's just see how it starts. Terribly. Now let's see if it starts again. and toast it again. Let me pull a plug. Plug coming out. Soaking wet. Again. Gasoline. Tons of it. Okay, so what does that mean? Fuel injectors are dumping too much fuel. When you disconnect the throttle position sensor, maybe it injects less fuel. But we're definitely getting too much fuel. And that's plug number 2 just after a few seconds. Soaking wet. And that's why it's so hard to start when it stalls with the throttle position sensor on, then I disconnect it and then it's hard to start. And then once I get this cleared out, then it fires up and starts in the water and everything's fine with the TPS disconnected. So the only thing I know now is pull the fuel rail off and shoot some gas out and see what we're getting and see if maybe there's a bad injector and it's just dumping fuel. But I mean, it's dumping in both sides. How can it be dumping too much in both sides? Then you think, do you have an ignition problem? I tried a different coil pack just for the sake of trying it, and that made no difference. Lots of hunting. I read about this symptom, and just a ton of people have this same problem. And some get it fixed, some just part them out. But I don't want to part this out. I want to find out what's going on. Moving on. And got the 2 10mm bolts out. Disconnected the power to the injectors. That's all this black crud. Just crud. Let's do a little setup here and we'll shoot that out. See what happens. Okay, so with the throttle position connected, cranking. Is that one putting out more than that one? I see. Then they stop. It's interesting that it stops. Just a mist. I have another one. Maybe I'll hook up my other one and see. Oh, actually, let's disconnect the throttle position and see if anything changes in that. Come on. Okay, now it's disconnected. Let's see what happens. No difference. Goes right down to a fine mist. Is that because it's not running? Just pressurizing the system, manually activating this pulse. That's a gusher. And again, pressurize. See if there's any difference. Gusher. Both the same. And back hooked up on the machine. Must be something that detects that it's running and will continually spray. But I don't see a difference in the spray pattern with the throttle position sensor on or off. Don't know where to go from here. All right, back on the hose again. Throttle position sensor on, fuel rail back on. Fire it up. Idling way high. Now it's idling too high. Wrench. Curious why that would be idling high now all of a sudden out of the blue. Turn her down. Ah, yeah. Start again. Start again. Notice I didn't shut the water off. When you do a quick start stop like that, it doesn't flood the engine. You got to leave it for a minute. Back to the bay and back to the lake for about our 20th time. And this is going to tell us once and for all what's going on, I think. If this doesn't work, we're going to call it. And trying. Yeah. Full throttle. And pull off the throttle position sensor. idles it right down. We're idling in the water with everything hooked up now, but it's dropping. It's dropping back to 1450. Down again. There it goes. Gone. Take the map sensor back on. See if we can get it to go. Where are you? TPS. Off. Doesn't even like it. It runs without it, but foggy. Just doing a, what do we got here? No map sensor hooked up, and just running on the TPS. See, there it goes. Gone. So you can't idle. Wow. Starts good.
like it doesn't like the map sensor either on it.
Okay, back on the bench, rotary valve. You can see the valve plate right there. The gap between the face of that plate and the face of this housing is supposed to be between, I think, 10 and 14 thousandths. This one is actually 11 thousandths. I put a gauge in there and check it. So that's what we have to check on the other machine. If that gets out of spec beyond the 14, they become hard to start, run bad, and that's exactly the symptoms that we're having on the other machine. So now we have a decision to make. Do we pull the engine, inspect all the housing and everything? Do we try and measure it in the machine while standing on our head? Probably. And then inspect the plate, but that's pulling the exhaust, pulling everything apart. So we have to decide what we're gonna do. So I got a message out to the customer right now to see how he wants to proceed. When he gave the machine to me, he said it had a little bit of water in the cylinder and he thought there was water in the oil. So I went through, of course we checked everything, cleaned everything up. Wasn't running in the beginning, whether the injectors were dirty or whatever happened there. But anyway, we got it running good. And then when I put it in the water, it wouldn't run. Then I messaged him again. He said, oh yeah, it didn't run while it was in the water. So it would stall. So this had more than the one problem that he brought it to me for. So now we have to decide whether that engine is coming out. I don't know what to do at this point. Anyway, I guess we'll have to wait and see what he wants to do. But ideally, I like to pull it out, check everything, then we can eliminate any issues. It's so hard to find. It's like a white puzzle, you know, with no pictures on it. Like you're trying to figure out what other people have done. You know, he's changed some stuff. Other guys have changed some stuff. The guy he bought it from sold it to him for obviously some reason. It wasn't running. So it's never just plug into the Can-Do Pro and get an answer. You know, you gotta go through everything, go through all the steps we went through, check all the simple stuff before you get into the more complex stuff. But unfortunately now we're into the complicated stuff. So I think if he wants to go ahead, we're gonna do that in the next video. Kind of a bummer we didn't resolve it in this video, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It's a very typical problem with these when they do wear out once they get so many hours on them, because the plate is stainless steel, the rotary valve, and the housing is aluminum, so it just eventually wears itself out. So anyway, until the next one, thanks for watching.